Hello everyone. Today what we are going to talk about is your thesis for your essay. Now, I put this on here for you guys to look at. These are the different types of theses you can use for an essay, not just to compare and contrast, but any other type of essay. But I want to go over what each of these meant and to try to explain them just a little bit better. So first things first, let me just show you what I'm going to be writing about. Now, I'm going to be discussing these two sculptures. This one is by Crystal Moray, and this one's by Cynthia Constantinos. So these are I'm going to be working on two sculptures. You might be working on two artists, and that's perfectly fine. After you've figured out what you're going to do, that's when you guys were working on your Venn diagram. Now, again, this is a compare and contrast. So I would put, I always forget her name, Moray and Constantino. I would put Moray on this side, Constantino on this side, and very easily, just by looking at the two, I can start coming up with how are they different. They're very, very different, but they have some similarities. Now, just from looking at them, I'm only going to get maybe about 3 or 4 different points on this Venn diagram. I need to research. I need to research to find more about the artists, about their style, maybe why. Those are two very interesting sculptures. Why are they driven to this style? I can't just look at them. I need to actually research, find articles, visit their websites, see if they were in any magazines where they were discussing their artwork, anything like that. That's going to help me with my thesis. So when you come back to here, we have different types of a thesis. Now, a thesis is a sentence where you are claiming something. You are going to prove something in your essay. And there's a few different ways to go about that. The easiest way to think about these is actually with this. So if you want to add these onto your outline, kind of these titles, it will help. I'm going to go over them just very quickly. So this first one, expert. In the thesis, you are the expert. You have been researching, you have been reading about them, about their artwork, their style, the sculptures. You know something that we don't know. So in your thesis, you're going to state something. You're going to tell us something that is unknown or not understood. Basically, your thesis is going to educate the reader, the viewer. That's what the expert does. You guys know more about that particular sculptures or those particular artists than anyone else. So your thesis is going to be based off of that. What are you telling us that we would have never known, and you're going to prove throughout this essay? Okay, so that's the expert. The salesman is also a very popular style of thesis. And what this is you're going to provide a new way of looking either at those two sculptures or at those two artists. You're going to offer an insight to the viewer. What you want to think about it is that you're pitching something. You're going to tell us something. You're bringing an idea that we wouldn't have known just looking at those sculptures, and you're going to prove this like salesman pitch throughout your essay. So that's kind of what the salesman does. Next, we have the detective. So the detective is where you are literally just focusing and bringing those two artists or those two sculptures into a sharper focus. You're investigating them, and what your thesis is going to do is it's going to prove something. What is it going to say? Maybe there's a detail in their backgrounds or a detail to the artwork that we wouldn't have known, and you're going to highlight that. Like your whole essay is just going to prove something that's very specific about those two. Now again, this is compare and contrast. So you're showing the differences, you're showing the similarities, but your thesis is what's going to tie it all together because you're going to prove something as you continue on. So with the detective, you're pulling information and you're highlighting it. So depending on how you want to go about doing that. The last one is the critic. Now the critic is also very, very popular. Basically what you're saying is you're going to make a judgment. Your thesis is going to say this one is better than this one, and your whole entire paper is going to prove it. This is always a little challenging because it might be your opinion. Maybe the style, maybe the message, maybe the artist and their skill or their style, depending on which one you've chosen to write about, you're going to prove. So in your essay, you're going to state, this one is better than the other because of this, this, and this. And so every paragraph that we start to go through, you're going to continue to prove, why is that one better? Everything you write for each paragraph, you're going to prove, and this is why this one's better, and this is why this one is not. However you're going to word that. And these are kind of the different ideas for a thesis. Are you going to be a critic, and your whole paper is proving one is better than the other? Are you a detective? And so you're doing a lot of research, and in that research, you found something that you're going to focus on throughout the essay. Maybe it's their backgrounds. Maybe even with every sculpture, that background is very important to their artwork, and you're just going to continue to focus on that one key element. Maybe you're a salesman, and what you want to do is just to provide. You're almost convincing the viewer, hey, this is something that I've realized by looking at this work, and I'm going to show you why you should think this way too. You're a salesman, you're pitching this idea. And then you could be an expert. We don't know all of these artists. Even I pick these sculptures, pick these artists, but I haven't looked at them in a long time. You are now the expert. You have been researching, reading about them, looking at videos, maybe if they're in Art21 or they have a cool YouTube channel. And you're going to tell us something that we don't know or that we don't understand. You're going to educate us. And then your thesis is going to be this thing that we don't know. And throughout the paper, you're going to come back to this idea, this one statement. And you're just going to keep introducing it to us and keep educating us about it. So I'm going to go back to my idea. So I have these two. I've already started researching them, and I'm actually going to be a salesman. That's the pitch that I want to do. I'm going to try to convince you of something that I've realized while researching, and I'm going to show you when I compare and when I contrast these two sculptures, why you should think this way too. And so I've started working on my thesis. It's not ready yet. It's kind of long. It's a giant sentence. I'm going to kind of fix it. But my thesis is, while these two sculptures share more differences than similarities, both artists challenge the viewer to reconsider our relationship and to question our societal norms. Now that's a mouthful. This is, we're just doing a rough draft of a thesis. But this is what I'm telling you, is that I'm already saying that there's more different. There's more different in the sculptures than there are similarities. But I'm going to prove to you that the artists are challenging our relationship with the world and to question our societal norms. So throughout my essay, I'm going to try to prove this. Even though I'm going to show, this is how these two are different, but this is how they both challenge our relationship to nature. Or here's how they're similar, but this is how they still challenge our views on societal norms. So even though I'm going to be talking about their differences and their similarities, I'm going to keep coming back to that last part. I'm pitching this idea. I'm the salesman. I want to tell you that there's something that you didn't know that I know, and I'm going to make you believe it. Now, you do not have to pick this one. Obviously, this is something that I've worked on because I've been researching a lot about these two. Maybe you want to be a critic. Maybe with your artists, what you're going to say is why one is better than the other. You're going to talk about their similarities. You're going to talk about their differences. But the whole main idea is that this one is better than this one. And you're going to prove it with their similarities, with their differences. So this is what you're going to kind of work on this week, is just a rough idea of your thesis. I slowly started mine, but I need to fix it. It's very wordy, and I don't know. I might need to rework it. You should still be working on your same one, the one that I handed out to you guys. You should already have the categories filled in because you did them in our last worksheet. If you don't, again, you can always do that again. This week, I just want to see a rough outline of your thesis. So if you want to come back to this video and kind of just highlight, critic is the only one I forgot to put in for this bottom one to show that one is better than the other. But you can always just, you don't have to have this all in that paper. You can still be a critic. But that's what I'm looking for. So you shouldn't be opening a new worksheet. Your outline that you have is what you're going to be working on. I want to see your rough thesis. What are you trying to prove? If you have not done research on your artists or on your sculptures, and you're just doing kind of what you know, what you see, this is really where you got to go into the web and start looking up ideas. Because just on the superficial, I could pull a lot of similarities and differences by just looking at them. But my essay is going to be very boring, and it's not going to be well written because I don't know the ideas, the thoughts, where these two artists are coming from, what styles they're trying to invoke, what's the message. They made these very specifically. I need to do some background research. So if you haven't started yet, make sure you do, because your thesis needs to do something. And regardless if you're the expert, the salesman, detective, or critic, whichever one you pick for your thesis, you'll have to have research. You'll have to have looked up more than just looking at that one sculpture or just looking up on their website. You kind of have to dig a little bit deeper. If you guys have any questions, obviously I'm going to be having my office hours so you guys can come and talk to me and I'll help you. But for this week, just start thinking about your thesis. I want to see a rough draft by Friday. And then we'll start fine-tuning it and kind of getting into the rest of our outline. Okay, guys, we're doing this together. Woo! Let's write an essay! I'll see you guys later.